The lively Hodge was also involved in Spurs' fourth goal after 68 minutes. Again, he was foiled by Parks, but this time Clive Allen was on hand to score his 26th goal of the season and make the final score Spurs 4, West Ham 0. An historic moment at White Hart Lane early in 1987 as the two North London rivals met for the 100th time in league football. But the more topical statistic was Arsenal's run of 18 games without defeat, a club record in George Graham's first season as manager at Highbury. They'd not lost since the end of September and had a clear lead at the top of the First Division. Spurs were fifth after winning at Charlton on New Year's Day. Despite live television, a crowd of nearly 38,000 were there to welcome the two teams. But it was Arsenal who kept their cool in pouring rain. At the end, where their fans were congregated, they took an early lead. Viv Anderson's shot there was scrambled away from off the line. But as Spurs tried to move out, Kenny Sansom whipped the ball back in. The touch there by Niall Quinn, and the goal goes to Tony Adams. It was a terrific start for Arsenal, and it took Spurs a while to recover. They could have gone 2 down. Quinn again, and Rocastle hits the post. Tottenham at this stage were looking for a foothold in the match, as well as on the greasy pitch. The shot there from Danny Thomas. Now, 39 minutes gone, a free kick to Arsenal. Number 8, Paul Davis, is the man who shoots, and the ball takes a deflection off the Tottenham wall to make it 2-0 to the Gunners. It might even have been 3. Steve Williams broke away from midfield, but this time Clements made the save. Four minutes before half-time, Spurs found a way back into the picture. Mitchell Thomas, number 3, joined the attack. David O'Leary cleared for Arsenal, but Spurs won possession back. Clive Allen plays an important part here in the actual build-up. Wide to Glenn Hoddle, and as the cross comes in, Thomas has stayed forward to put Spurs back in the game at 2-1. That's how it was at half-time. In the second half, Tottenham had by far the greater share of play. And Lukic survived, sometimes only just. Arsenal was starting to look rattled. But again, luck is on the goalkeeper's side. Chris Waddle trying to find a way through for Spurs with the help of Tony Galvin. Substitute Nico Klassen is foiled here by Tony Adams, and Arsenal hung on to win. The fans didn't know it, but this was to be the first of 3 Arsenal victories at White Hart Lane in just a matter of 2 months. Meanwhile, 6 days later, Spurs opened their FA Cup programme with a third-round tie against 4th Division Scunthorpe United at White Hart Lane. Scunthorpe's goalkeeper, Ron Green, made an early save from Steve Hodge. But the crowd of 19,300 didn't have long to wait for the opening goal. Danny Thomas and Steve Hodge involved in the move. And when Chris Waddle got in his cross, it was Gary Mabbott sliding in to put Spurs in front. A well-taken goal. But Scunthorpe were no pushover. This, after all, was their cup final. And when they beat the Spurs offside trap, top scorer Steve Johnson arrived at the far post to equalise. So, no easy cup tie for Spurs against 4th Division opposition. Now, in the second half, the score is still 1-1. And it was a good thing for Tottenham that, from Glenn Hoddle's corner, Nico Klassen showed his alert scoring touch. That second goal really broke the back of gallant Scunthorpe. But Spurs' third was one well worth waiting for. And one of the best individual goals seen at White Hart Lane throughout the whole season. It came from number 9, Chris Waddle. What a fabulous instant strike. But even now, Scunthorpe fought doggedly. Spurs got rather slack. And number 4, Ken Demange, on loan from Liverpool, scored a superb individual goal. Final score, Spurs 3, Scunthorpe 2. That gave Spurs a 4th round tie at home to Crystal Palace, for whom Andy Gray missed a very good opening early on. Palace would live to regret that miss. They say you need lots of luck to do well in the FA Cup, and certainly Spurs couldn't complain about the draw this season. Having edged past 4th Division Scunthorpe in the 3rd round, they now found themselves at home again to opposition from a lower division. Mind you, early on, Steve Coppell's Crystal Palace made Tottenham work hard. And they might have pulled off a shock result if Gray had done better with that early chance. The crowd of 30,000 for this London derby saw Gary Mabbott put Spurs in front, and later in the first half, former Tottenham defender Gary O'Reilly, now at the heart of the Palace back four, put through his own goal to give Spurs a 2-goal advantage. At this stage in the season, Spurs were lying 5th in the 1st Division and making progress in both cup competitions. So David Pleat's plans looked as though they were taking shape. With Nico Klassen back on the substitutes bench, Spurs were again using their 5-man midfield formation, with just Clive Allen up front. In the second half, Glenn Hoddle tested Palace's experienced goalkeeper George Wood with a free kick. It was all Spurs, and Gray's frustration spilled over when he fouled Hodge and was booked by the referee. Still 2-0 to Tottenham, but Palace weren't posing much of a threat at the other end. On the break, substitute Klassen broke through and shot over the bar. It was a crisp, competitive cup tie between two London teams. But just when Palace might have thought they could draw breath and stage a recovery, Chris Waddle came back to win the ball in his own half and embarked on a thrilling run. It ended when he was tripped by number 7 Tony Finnegan inside the penalty area. The linesman signalled to the referee that it was a penalty kick, and that prompted a storm of protest from Palace. It was some time before the kick could be taken. But it was an important one for Clive Allen, given the chance here to score his 30th goal of the season. Goalkeeper Wood's delaying tactics almost worked. He came very close to saving that shot, but it was 3-0 to Spurs. Palace did have their moments. One of their openings fell to number 11 Phil Barber. But quick thinking by Ray Clements saved the situation. And Gray shot over the bar. Spurs were clearly safely through to the 5th round, but there was still time for one more goal. And time too for a good interchange between Glenn Hoddle and Chris Waddle. The scorer, Nico Klassen. (4-0 to Tottenham).
And the 4th goal for Spurs, scored by number 14.
Just 2 days later, a crowd of nearly 42,000 were at White Hart Lane for the replay of the Littlewoods Cup quarter-final between Spurs and West Ham. And that reflex save early on by Clements from Billy Bonds indicated what an exciting evening this was going to be. In the first match at Upton Park, a goal by Clive Allen had been answered by an equaliser from Tony Cottee, and West Ham seemed determined to start here where they left off. Alvin Martin, in a good position, put his header over the bar. Gary Mabbott warding off Frank McAvenny. And it was really Spurs' overseas connection that was to prove influential here. Nico Klassen was back in the starting lineup, foraging for opportunities up front. And the man who found him in a telling position was Ozzy Ardiles with an exquisite through pass. Klassen able to show the Spurs fans high-quality finishing. 1-0 to Tottenham. But despite those celebrations, West Ham were not prepared to succumb just yet. Tony Cottee was still a threat, and it would be easy to overlook Clement's contribution to this Tottenham performance. It was Spurs' pace which gradually wore down West Ham, but in a match of great quality and rapid movement, there were thrills in both penalty areas as the two teams adopted an attacking approach. Just enjoy a few of the best moments again now. golden goal by Glenn Hoddle. And my word, how it relieved the tension for Tottenham. That shot received a rapturous reception from the Spurs crowd, and Glenn's colleagues celebrated a 2-0 lead. But the Hammers still weren't finished. Just look at how they retaliated. But then West Ham's resistance was finally broken. Nico Klassen made the third goal for Clive Allen, who forced the ball in off the unlucky Phil Parkes. That made it 3-0, and Spurs were now chasing the 4 by which they'd beaten West Ham in that earlier league meeting. Paul Allen, once again lifting his game against his old colleagues, ran them ragged at times in midfield. And Parkes saved there from Klassen. Paul Allen again. And in a fatigued West Ham defence, Alvin Martin makes a tired tackle. It's a penalty to Spurs. Paul Allen doing the hard work, and Clive Allen taking the responsibility once again from the penalty spot. The chance to make it 4-0. Soon Spurs go one better. Ardiles and Hoddle set up the play. And the Allen family are in harmony once more. Paul's surging run, a fingertip save by Parkes, and Clive swoops for goal number 5. And his hat-trick in the space of just 8 minutes. Spurs are through to the semi-final. The Allens are in ecstasy. But Wembley beckons on 2 fronts, because later in February, Newcastle are back at White Hart Lane in the 5th round of the FA Cup. By now, Spurs have dropped to 6th in the league, so it's cup fever that grips the 38,000 fans inside the ground. And maybe it affected Spurs left-back Mitchell Thomas as he let in Paul Goddard. But from this free kick came the incident that settled the tie. Did Peter Jackson push Richard Gough? The referee said yes, and Newcastle was certainly not united with him. The Geordies' complaints were long and furious, but they were to no avail. Eventually, Clive Allen belted in another penalty, bringing his total for the season to 35 goals. Rather like that West Ham match, this was a compelling cup tie with some stirring football. The game moving swiftly from end to end. Newcastle brought nearly 10,000 supporters from the northeast, and they added a passionate edge to the excitement. The incidents came thick and fast. And now we'll let you sit back again and simply enjoy the football. So, as an absorbing cup tie came to its conclusion, most people agreed Spurs were good value for their 1-0 win. In the sixth round, Spurs were drawn away to Wimbledon. The next visitors to Tottenham were Leicester City in a rearranged league match. Leicester were struggling near the bottom of the First Division, but for 35 minutes they held Spurs at bay. Quite how, nobody he was quite sure. Maybe the pictures coming up will tell their own story.